going on, everyone? Gilman with Live Healthy, back with our daily Apple update video where we take a look at how Apple stock traded today, some key support and resistance levels to look out for, and what the future for the stock could look like. So real quick, if you enjoy these, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I try to do these videos on a daily basis, and we can get started. So let me hit record and we'll get right into it. So today was not a bad day for Apple. Much better than we've seen in the past couple of days, right? We were up $1.32, which is 1.16%. Comparing that to the NASDAQ, it was up 1.31%. The Dow cracked 30,000, right? The Dow's at 300 right now. It was up 454 points, up another 44 points after hours. The S&P was up $5.76 today, which is 1.61%. Taking a look at that, Apple was a little bit below all three major indexes, but not too bad. And it was, relatively strong for the day when comparing it to some other factors. So let's take a look at how kind of the day started. If you remember, from yesterday, we were kind of in the 114, we ended in the high 113s, low 114s. Pre-market action here was in the low to mid 114s as well. And look at that, right out of the gate, we fell hard. And at that point, I was watching that 113 line of support that we were talking about. Actually, this line's drawn at 112.72, and it kind of fit the situation better than the 113 mark. That's where I've just had it, right? It's around this mark, right? I'm talking high 112s, low 113s, holding up as support. So that's what I was watching out for. It did hold up here, and then we went up, and then we came right back down, right? We didn't even push towards VWAP. And then we kind of hung around there for a while, right? And this was kind of the decision point for me. I was in some call positions that I'll share with you guys. And I was down decently, right? I've talked to you guys about my wins. I'll tell you about my, losses as well. And so this was kind of the point where, look, if we broke this support, that's when I knew that I was out of that trade. I was already down decently. And that would be sort of the point where I cut the trade loose, rather than, holding it and waiting for it to come back. Because if we fall from this, I think we go to 110, potentially even down to 108 if the weakness continues. Thankfully, though, we didn't, and we pushed up. And then the next thing I was thinking of is, okay, do we break VWAP? Do we have enough strength to kind of power through VWAP? Which we did, thankfully. So then we pushed up to the high 113s and then kind of tested the VWAP again. But didn't break it, which again is a good sign. And I'm just sharing this with you guys if you're in Apple stock or you're in Apple options and you're maybe wanting to learn how to play options. These are kind of things that I'm watching as someone who regularly trades Apple and has long-term investments in Apple as well as other stocks. But this is an Apple video, so we'll focus on Apple. And then, the trend from that point on was pushing up. The gap between VWAP increased up till here. We came down, didn't bounce off VWAP, which is great, and then we pushed up again. And at that point, I was watching this point, right, because that was the high we set for the day before we started going down. And then we went up, again came back down, and then I was watching to see a sell-off at the kind of day's end, which we kind of got from, the 115.60s all the way down to 115, but then we pushed up a little 117 into the close, pretty much flat after hours. So all that to really say, good day for Apple. We pushed up a lot. We had great distance between the VWAP and where Apple was. The only thing I don't like is how far separated it was from the VWAP. As you guys know, I like for the stock to be kind of closer because it gives me more comfort that, it's not going to try to push down towards VWAP to make a test of VWAP. That's my only kind of downside for that. Let's take a look at the daily chart, and then I'll kind of share my trade that I had that was really unprofitable for a little bit, but then is looking okay right now. So what we'll see here is, we were kind of in this, so I've talked about this, I'm not going to read through all the numbers, but the pattern of making a lower high obviously continued because we had a huge red candle yesterday. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7 days of making lower highs. And for the past, or in some of those, we also had lower lows. But today was a decent green candle. As we could see, the channel that I have drawn out and the channel that I have coming up, I do see a little bit of a bull flag forming. Whether or not it fires, should have already fired. But that's something I'm still watching, assuming it doesn't break it. Now, we did kind of, the wick of the candle is, out of that, but we'll kind of see how that looks for the rest of this week. That's something that I'm watching. So let's take a look at some indicators, and then we'll kind of talk about some key support and resistance levels that I'm personally watching. So what we see here is the 20-day moving average is at 116.01, and then the 50-day moving average is at 115.39. So at one point we were above the 50-day moving average, but we couldn't quite make it to the 20-day moving average. So those are kind of points that I want to see the stock trade above, right? As is just a normal, bullish sign for the stock is it being above the moving averages, because now it's doing better than it did in the past 20 or 50 days. And then taking a look at some of the EMAs, as you guys know, I like for the stock to ride the 8 EMA, which is at 116.76. Capturing that would be amazing. And that kind of aligns with the sort of 3 channels we're looking at way above, which are 117, 119, 120, 150. So if it captures the 8 EMA at 116.76, it's pretty close to that 117 channel, and we could see an entry into that channel. Same thing with the 21 EMA, it's at 116.74, 34 EMA is at 116, or 21 EMA is at 116.74, 34 is at 116.34, 55 EMA is at 115, and then if we drop all the way down to the 89 EMA, that's at 111, right? So let's take a look at the downside, right? If we go down, I'm watching, today's low, which really coincides with that 112 mark, as a level of support, that 112.70s or 113 mark. And if we break that, I'm watching that 89 EMA at 111.20. And if that breaks, I'm watching the 110 mark. If we push up, I just highlighted all these EMAs and moving averages line that I'd like to see the stock capture, and then I want to see it push towards that 117 mark. And at that point, I want to see if it rejects the 117 mark or if it has enough momentum to break through. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this is Thanksgiving week. Thursday, the markets are off. Friday, it's a half day. Just something to keep in mind, right? We might not have the volume we need for a lot of these high pushes, and again, anything can happen, but just something to keep in the back of your mind, right? Don't go all in to calls or some position. Just keep in the back of your mind that it is a shortened week. And also, on that point, if you're buying an option, understand that the time decay to Friday is a lot shorter. The time decay to next week, Thursday and Friday will also be a bit quicker than it would be otherwise. Just something to keep in mind. Let me share my trade. So I took this trade on yesterday on Apple, and it wasn't going the way I had planned it to. I had 2 total into yesterday, and I added one this morning at the 113 drop when it bounced off of 113. I added one, so I had 3 total positions. Average cost being 317, which I was able to lower because I was able to get one at a really low price today after the bounce. As you could see, I was up only 2%. This actually, I think, fell a little into the close because this was at half an hour before close when we saw a little bit of a drop. I was able to exit one of them for 2%, so I made like $6 on that trade. But the thing I want to focus on is today I went up 189, which means at the beginning, and I went up 189 and now I'm $19 positive. So I was down $170 on this trade. That's something that I really want to share. I know I share all my wins. I also want to share times when I was wrong. Now, my plan today was when we dropped right out of the gate, that was horrible. I was watching to see if that 112.72 line that I had drawn held. If it held, then I wanted to see if we could push up, and at that point my goal was either to minimize the loss that I could, or if I saw enough momentum, let it ride. Thankfully, there was enough momentum, I could let it ride. Basically, it broke even, made $6 on selling one of them. Still have 2, looking to see how tomorrow looks to kind of see if I need to cut them again at potentially a little bit of a loss, or if the stock continues to stay sideways or push a little bit higher so I could get out of this position. Also maybe looking to add some depending on how we open. So that's my trade plan. Again, make sure to make your own trade plan before you go into trade. My trade plan was, look, I'm down $170, but I'd rather lose 170 than this going to zero, because this has 2 weeks and some days of time value, right? And everything else is sort of the intrinsic value of the option. So that was my trade plan. Make sure you always have a trade plan as well, and you follow that trade plan when things don't go the way you want it to, because believe it or not, right, no one knows the way the market is going. People can say they do, but no, it's a hunch and technical analysis, but the market can do whatever the heck it wants. So just something to keep in mind. That's all I had for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And comment down below if you're in Apple or if you had any Apple trades or any other trades, and I'd love to chat with you guys down there. Until then, let's remember to be a bit better every single day. And until next time.